We're back. Compel your audience. And one of my dear friends in the world, who I couldn't imagine anybody else being the first guest on Tell Me a Story, Jordan Greek, growth account executive over at Outreach. Man, this is always high, intense, a lot of energy, a lot of juice. So I'm gonna have you just tell everyone out there that don't know why they wouldn't know, a little bit about Outreach and what you do, and then we'll dive directly into the story you're trying to tell and how you're using it effectively.
Yep, always bringing the juice, Chris. Happy to be here doing this with you. So at Outreach, basically what we're up to is we're helping teams drive predictable and efficient growth within their sales organizations. And there are three key ways that we end up doing that, which is to proactively guide growth. The second is to help teams scale workflows to deliver the best results. And then the third thing is to start bringing more science to the art of forecasting. And if we were to simplify this into three words, we are a sales engagement platform. We created that category, and we're here to help sales teams close the efficiency gaps within their sales organizations.
So when I hear all of that, tell me what context or what world or what role would I need to be in to say I get all of that.
Sure.
When I hear all of it, if we were to grab somebody, say, SDR, brand new to sales, how much of that would they say, I get all of that? So I think it's important to
Yep.
highlight who's the audience, who is that you're going after and trying to communicate, hey, this is what we do.
Yep. So the simple answer or the broadest answer is it's really anyone that is within the go-to-market team. So
Mm.
that could be sales enablement. It could be, yes, SDRs, AEs, customer success, account management, anyone that is doing a forward moving motion, a sales motion, we should say, making calls, sending emails, booking meetings, like helping them use your platform, your service more efficiently. They fall under the go-to-market umbrella. Now, would a SDR for the first time being in a sales role know about proactively guiding growth and bringing the science to the art of forecasting? Probably not. So if we were going to simplify it for them, it would be, hey, what Outreach is going to help you do, brand new SDR, is get the most out of every day, work incredibly efficient, give you data to help you know how your audience is responding to your messaging, and helping you book more meetings by bringing some data and science into your daily workflows.
Yeah, and I'm not paid to say what I'm about to say, but like I love Outreach. I think you know that. I have seen it. I know some people that used to work at Outreach and now know you that work there, and I love the product. I love what it does. I think it really is set up for a lot of things that we talk about at Craft and Compel. Is how do we build the overall macro story, and how do we keep telling that story over and over through a tool that allows us to understand the data that's coming in of, are they reading, are they listening, are they not, are they engaging, are they not,
Yep.
is this story resonating, is it not, as well as what's the time frame that we're sending out the next message, or like to say, the next chapter of the story. And
Yep.
so I think it lends itself to what we're going to dive into, of this idea of strategic storytelling. Tell me, are you primarily, I'm assuming you're primarily an outbound role?
Yes and no. So
Okay.
break it down this way. Think about, you've got a new logo team that they're like actively engaging new prospects, right? On the growth side of the business, which is what I'm on, is I'm working with existing customers who,
Mm,
let's say, one of their teams, the SDR team, is leveraging Outreach. Well, they have AEs, they've got account management, right? Additional teams within their go-to-market organization can benefit from Outreach. So it's helping them see that value. But then it's also, we have multiple products that we sell at Outreach now. So if you came on with the optimized platform, but then you want to leverage some of our additional tools, it's my job to help you see the value in those as well.
I'm digging this. All right, this is good. So this is what I would say is a bit of a non-traditional as far as the world of LinkedIn as we see it. LinkedIn's talking a lot about, either an inside SDR type role or a very heavy outbound prospecting, new business roles. So I like where this is going. Okay. So what I would like to do is I would like to hear from you of, hey, this is the story. This is the communication that when I look at it on a macro level, what I'm trying to communicate to my buyer, to my prospect. In your sense, it's really to the customer that you already have for them to expand their business. And then let's just lean into that. Let's just really kind of dissect that. Maybe some good things will come out of it for you. Maybe not. Maybe it's already impeccable and great, which could be the case with
Not the
Mr. Greek.
case.
But yeah, so let's just dive into that. So tell me a little bit more about who specifically that you're going after within the organization. I'm assuming it's variable based upon the team that's using it, but give me an idea
Correct.
for how are you moving from this team is using it to I want other teams to use it, and give us a little bit of like what's the title, what's the concept of the overall macro story.
Yeah. So the story I'm going to tell today is about a new product of ours. So let's say that the customer is they brought outreach on for their SDR organization, and they have a few of their account executives using it now. But I want to help more of those account executives adopt outreach. And the way I'm kind of springboarding into that other organization is through this new tool called Kaya, Outreach Kaya. And so who I would be having this conversation with is a manager over AEs, a senior leader that's responsible for the account executive team, which oftentimes they may sit on top of the SDR org as well. Sometimes they're separated. But Kaya is I'm trying to create an aha moment for them to see like, oh, wow, I see how my current AEs could use this more effectively. And also I see why now I need to get the rest of my AE organization on outreach so we can leverage this.
Cool. All right, let's dive into it. I can't wait to hear it.
Cool. So Chris, when we went to this remote selling environment, the ability to record conversations that reps were having with customers or prospects, this became a must-have, right? You no longer had people walking the halls. Those coachable moments were gone, right? So when we think about recording, it's one thing to record a call, but you also have to create these coachable opportunities. Those don't just happen, right? It requires a manager taking time to either be live on a call with their rep. It takes a manager taking time to listen to the call at the end of their day, on the weekend, or it takes then the manager scheduling time with their rep to then review that call. So I want to just ask you for a second, did your team ever cross that threshold of realizing our team's remote now, we need to have call recording in some capacity? Like, what was that like for you guys?
Yeah, I think we recognized that I wasn't able to lead the way I used to lead. I used to be able to step out on the floor and listen to my team making the calls, and then I was
Yep.
able to coach them up by hearing it. When the team moved to remote, even if remote meant they're in the same metroplex that I'm in, I wasn't able to. I had to be more intentional, which took more time away from me and what my responsibilities are outside of developing them.
Right. Right. And hey, you're not alone. Like we were faced with the exact same challenge, right? But let me ask you this. Is it reasonable for you to be on every call that your sales reps are having?
No, and nor do I want to. I want them to know that they have the ability to be themselves.
Totally. And like your reps having the ability to be themselves, like there's an empowerment, right? Like there's a level of confidence there that they end up building over time. But if you were taking your sales rep and reviewing every single call and not forcing them, but like encouraging them to do this, how successful do you think your rep would be actually hitting their KPIs, right? Number of booked meetings, number of outbound dials, number of closed deals, if they're not doing the selling activities, if they end up being essentially on the practice field all the time, but never in the real game, executing.
So you're saying that by recording it, recording all of their calls, that it's almost, it's allowing us to put them in a position where they're always having to be on.
Not always, but that's where the coachable moment is taking place. So let's relate this to coaching outside of sales.
Okay.
So let's think about coaching in the sports world, which I know you have some experience there. So I'm going to speak your narrative here for a second.
Yeah, it's good.
But look, most of coaching, or much of coaching, I should say, it happens during practice, right? You're running drills, you're breaking down film, you're making these adjustments, but it also happens during the game. And the reason why that happens is because a game is fluid. The defense is adjusting to you. And quite frankly, you have to adjust to that defense in the moment. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. So when we think about post-call coaching, it's like having a coach in the practice facility, but then when your reps are out playing the game, right, they're on an island by themselves. And that is the gap that post-call coaching has created, which is only coaching within the practice environment, but not having the ability to support reps on the call when they need it most, when they're having their customer conversations. That's how I'm relating this, post-call coaching. The opportunities are there, but you have to set aside additional time to do that. And that's time away from actually being on the call, closing the business, trying to move those conversations forward.
So are you telling me that Kaya is recording live? Is that why it's not a post-call coaching, or how does Kaya eliminate the need for post-call coaching?
It's a great question. So you get all the same post-call capabilities to be able to record, go back and listen, share, have all the analytics and so forth. But Kaya is an actual assistant that joins the meeting. And like right now, if I had Kaya in this meeting, Chris, I'd have in a separate window a live transcription of what you're saying, what I'm saying. So imagine that you ask me a question about like one of my competitors, right? It could be 10, 20, 30 different competitors. It's unreasonable, right? That if I just came out of training, that I'm going to know every competitor and how to respond to that, right? If I'm a tenured rep, as our product evolves and I have to continue to get enabled, right? Like new products come out, like new competitors and so forth. I need a tool that's going to help me find that information quickly, right? So what Kaya is going to do is it's going to serve me up a content card based on what you're saying, what you're asking, so I can give you a real-time response, continue building momentum in the sales cycle, and avoid the, hey, Chris, I got to get back to you on this, or hey, Chris, I don't know, right? I'm losing some credibility, depending on how you want to handle that. And so it's creating a better buying experience for customers, but it's also creating more confidence for new sellers to hit the ground running.
Okay, so you've told me all the advantages, all the great pieces. Tell me, what's the most difficult thing about Kaya for my team to adopt it and to begin to use it?
Yep. So in terms of adoption, what's going to change is typically your sales reps right now, they're either logging notes on like a Google Doc, right? Or they're scribbling it down on a piece of paper. What they're going to want to get used to is they now have this support that is just living right next to their Zoom call, right? So they're going to, like, when they have that moment of, oh gosh, I don't remember this from training, right? Or I don't know about that competitor. The training that they need to do, or what they need to get used to, is looking at their assistant that's right next to them, responding with that content, and then continuing to build momentum in the call.
Okay, so I'm intrigued. So tell me, what are the next steps for us and our team?
Yeah. So let me just take this back to, you're like, great, you're intrigued. That's awesome, Chris. But at the onset, you were talking about how, you can't walk the halls like, the way you used to coach, it's not possible, right? Like, this is going to not only give you the ability to do that, but it's going to give your reps that confidence as if you were there, like feeling your presence, right? So our next step is, let's book some time, man. Like, if you got your calendar handy, let's pull this up. I'll get you on a live demo. We'll pull it up. We'll walk you through it. And from there, we'll see if it continues to make sense for us to keep chatting.
Cool. All right, we'll end it there. All right, now you give me some feedback. How did you feel about it? Did you feel like you conveyed the story that you wanted to convey? Like, give me some insight on some reflection from you.
Yeah, so I think I could have done a little bit better of a job hearing your story at the onset. I kind of fed you a little bit when I used the walk down the hall example. I should have just left it at, hey, Chris, here's what happened. We needed the ability to record, but tell me what that experience was like for you. Like, I think I could have opened up more in that, drawn more pain from that, and then connected that later in the call.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Okay. What else? Anything else?
Yeah, so I was losing you on the like coaching, like practice and in-game example. So I either need to scrap that or tighten that up a little bit. But what I was trying to do is draw this parallel that you look, you need this, you know you need this, but what you're not aware of is the added challenge that this is creating for you, which is
Mhm.
you have to set aside a lot of additional time to listen to these calls, find those coachable moments, then bring your rep in, which is time for them as well, right? And then to go through a session like this where we're working through it. And all of that happens after they've already gotten off the phone with the customer and they've maybe failed or lost the game, right? So they can go win the next one, but they lost the one that's already done.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nah, you're great.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So my 12 cents. We'll start from the future part first and then we'll go backwards. So
Okay.
I think what came alive for me after I pulled it out is this idea that you're making my internal sales playbook basically come alive and serving up my people some of these sales enablement pieces that we may have created that are stagnant. They're not dynamic. So you're
Okay.
like, you're giving my people their battle cards in the moment that they need the battle cards. And so there's a little less expectations that they all have to have that categorized and organized in a way that is easy for them to pull when they're on the call and it doesn't feel disjointed and anything goes of nature. So I think the better future in my eyes, you got to think about the two audiences. It's almost as if we're selling a product. It's almost like I'm a distributor and I'm selling a product to you that you're going to then sell to a buyer. And I've got to think about my buyer, you, but I also have to think about my buyer's buyer, and I've got to serve up both of the magic elixir, as my buddy Trelando Hicks likes to say. I got to serve up magic elixir for both. So
Yep.
ultimately for my salespeople, look, everyone has sales enablement. They got a sales playbook. They got battle cards. I like the competition thing. We've got 30 competitors. How do you know them all? That's
Yep.
now going to be live. Like, you don't have to expect your people to memorize the sales playbook. We're taking the playbook and we're making it dynamic and we're feeding it into Kaya. And Kaya is now going to grab the information out of the playbook and serve it to your people at the time they need it. So I think that's one.
Yep.
Two, I think that when it comes to me as a leader, I think I liked the idea of post-call coaching. I think I would have asked me about that. Hey, do you
Yep.
do post-call coaching now? How do you do that? Has that been more difficult during remote work? I almost would have led
Yep.
with post-call coaching or language that's familiar to me, but I think that language is pretty familiar of like, hey, how are you doing your post-call coaching?
Yep.
And I think the one thing that didn't happen here, and that's okay, but you almost could have garnered what maybe Outreach's product is already doing internally and saying like, hey, you know how our product gives immediate feedback, and it's been really helpful? Yeah, I do. Great. What Kaya does, and you mirror the benefits and the great things that happen with the product they already bought, and then
Yep.
mirrored that to the current product and served up kind of this idea of like, you already loved one of our products. It did this. Hey, go check out this product. It does this as well, just in a completely different way. But I would paint that better future. Paint that
Yep.
better future for me as a leader that I'm not going to have the headache of post-call coaching the same way that I used to.
Yep.
Let's see here. I also ability record coachable moments. Okay, so you said coachable moments a lot. Like that was a main theme that kept coming back to my head of like, we're going to create coachable moments, or there's going to be coachable moments. because it's recording. And I think the power in the coachable moments goes back to the whole post-call coaching. And you gave the analogy of sports coaching. So
Yep.
this is part of my story, and this may seem to anyone watching out there like kind of silly, but I think it's important, is if you know that I'm in Denver, Colorado, then maybe you ask me some type of sports question. Hey, you follow the Broncos? Nah, I'm more of a Stanley Cup guy. Okay, cool. Colorado Avalanche. Imagine if the coach, instead of just sending them out on the ice, that they actually, while something was playing out in front of them, a coach was in their brain telling them, okay, they're getting ready to slash in this corner and they're going to have a 3-on-2 and you're going to slide in and do this. And the playbook literally played out, instead of, after they lose the game, we all go watch the highlights and try to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
That's Kaya for your salespeople. We don't have to have failure or success in the moment. We actually get to change the moment now. Like, I think that analogy is killer. I just think you pulled out the wrong piece of the analogy, I guess is what I would say. Right?
Yeah.
So I would think, find a piece to them. And look, you're going to have people that are like, I don't like sports. Okay, cool. Well, you've heard of Tom Brady, or like find somebody that everybody knows.
Right.
And you can make the joke of like, imagine how much better they would be if dynamically they had, and then you can even say, like, for a football player, they only get 32 seconds with a coach telling them the play or the scheme before that mic turns off. Our mic never turns off. So I think some of those alliterations are incredible. And I think you guys using even, the outreach sequencing tools to build that story up of relevant things that are going on in their world, man, I think the stories are endless. So, as you know, so I'm cheating because you know this, but for everyone that doesn't know, I mean, the framework that I always use is, what is their story? What is my story or our story? And then what's the future story? What's the story together? So I think in this, the thing that's very known is, what is Kaya's story? I didn't hear Jordan Greek's story. I think you could have had some powerful moments of you being like, there's been moments in my life before I ever saw Kaya that this happened to me. And you tell me a story that might resonate with the leader. And like you even saying like, yeah, like I knew my leader was going to listen to that later. I was a little embarrassed. I was nervous about what that conversation was going to be. And it would have been awesome to have an assistant there. Or if you had a moment, like, I know you have the Peloton. So it's almost like, there's been times I wanted to give up, but that Peloton, that instructor, they said something to me in the moment. I quit. I kept pedaling.
Yeah.
So imagine if there were, so I think you have some mirror stories of personal stories that, that you can throw out there. And then the story together, I think the powerful thing of the story together, man, is figuring out their crisis and showing them how you're not a vitamin, you're a painkiller.
Yep.
Don't be a vitamin. And I think in your role, that's the danger, is like, this is a nice to have, not a need to have. And I was going to ask a couple questions. I don't know. Is call recording almost an industry standard now? Is like everybody, from a company of maybe, I don't know, enterprise level company, are they all recording calls now?
I'd say majority of them are. I mean, just in the same way that, you may use Zoom or Microsoft Teams, right, to have a video conference to connect. Having the ability to record and re-listen to those calls or share those calls with customers is commonplace now.
Okay. Because if it is, and this is what I would tell everyone listening, make sure that you're communicating the moments of their story that easily everyone's like, yep. And they don't have to overthink it. Because when you start saying, as you guys record your calls and they're like, oh, we don't record our calls, that really damages, one, maybe a little bit of credibility, but two, they've already shut off now. And it's like, they don't know me.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Right. So, so for anyone out there listening, just make sure that whatever product or service you're selling, that when you go try to build context or at least affirm their story contextually, make sure you actually know those things are happening. Because I think, and you probably would agree with this, especially in your situation with customers trying to increase, spend basically in their organization, that they're looking for a reason to shut it down. So if you say something that isn't true, they quickly are like, oh no, we don't use your product like that. Or no, only 3 people use the product, even though we have 8, or whatever it might be. And so I would just tell everyone out there, and that's why I asked that question, is that an industry standard that, yep, we're all recording calls? Because if it is, amazing, because that's an easy, I know your world, I know your story, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
can I take you back to one thing here, Chris, that you mentioned?
yeah,
Because
please.
I do like this, the painkiller, not a vitamin, right? Take the vitamin. It's like, I didn't feel anything. I don't have enough pain to start taking this vitamin, right? But when you're experiencing pain, the painkiller is like, it's the urgency. I need this now.
Mm-hmm.
But when we think about your framework here, what is their story? Is that where you're really drawing out the potential pain? Which in this example, it's Chris, how are you coaching right now? Like, how are you leveraging call recordings? And like, it's throughout that process, I'm learning the potential pain. Maybe you don't have any, right? But that's where I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I can start to draw out that pain from understanding what your story is.
1000%. I think we're trying to figure out, and I think this is the deceiving thing. Just because it's a pain doesn't mean it's a crisis.
Right.
My dog is a pain during live calls. It's only let me revert back. My dog is a pain when I'm on any call, but she's a crisis when I'm on a live call like this. And so I have to have her right here. It's the only way she doesn't bark. So we have to uncover, is post-call coaching a crisis, or is it just the pain? And so I think, like, to your point, I think asking some of those questions to really unwrap that. And for anyone out there, I think you can say, hey, a lot of our, I think you can say in a very great way of like, man, all I know is a lot of managers are saying that they're just still trying to find time to do all of the post-call coaching. Does that resonate with you? Are you feeling that? And see how they talk through that. So yeah, I mean, in their story,
yep.
And I think here's the benefit. You get more of their story because they're a current customer. And this is where I challenge companies that if they're not in tune and engaged with their current customers, they can't, 1, expect great retention, but 2, in your role, they can't expect to have the type of relationship where you can ask that question up front of like, hey, I know things are going great with X product. I wanted to introduce you to this, but before I do, man, how are you guys doing for post-call coaching? Yeah. Right? So I think because of what it's not fair to you is if your organization is doing not a good job, which I bet they are because of who they are, but not a good job of engaging the customer ongoing and providing value, then your call becomes a whole lot easier. Otherwise, it's like, it feels like outbound, right? It feels like new business, and it shouldn't feel that way.
Yep. No, totally. And I'm lucky because we are doing a great job there. And this is more just about, like, I have the pleasure of helping our customers just continue to chase down their goals and like bring these stories to life, right? That's what I get to do, is, be that guide along the way. And your framework certainly is a big part of that.
Yeah. The last thing I think I'll just make it real simple for everyone out there in Jordan's case, and I'll make it specific to you, is I would want to know more about what their struggle is as a potential remote or even in-house. I think it could be either one, manager. 2, I would want to know what kind of sales, what their sales playbook is like, and do they have one? Because I think it's very relevant to almost say, hey, this sales playbook is hiding on a Google Drive or in a Dropbox somewhere. Kaya makes that come alive. It's dynamic. It no longer is a 20-page PDF that you spent time and energy on, or your sales enablement team. It comes to life. So I would want that to be a part of the pitch. And then lastly, I would want to make sure that I understand the future they want. And to your point, you have 2 audiences: the future that your salespeople want and the future that you want, and painting those pictures to unlock that. And listen, people, be careful not to tell them the future they want, but understand the future they want and play guide to that, because it also serves up that Jordan can say, we can't serve you in that future. Like, I can't get you more vacation time. I'm sorry. Kaya doesn't do that. I can't increase your salary. I might be able to increase your bonus, right? But I can't increase your
Yep.
salary. So I think like understanding the future and molding that out. So man, that's all the time we got. And I
Awesome.
so thankful for you. Tell everyone, where they can find you and what like where you're located, all of the things, man. I want to promote you a bit too.
Yeah, appreciate that. Always, hey, appreciate the friendship, Chris, and the feedback here always helped me get better. Yeah, Jordan Greek. I'm in the greater Seattle area. You already know I work for Outreach, but on LinkedIn, you can message me there, or actually, yeah, message me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way, and we can take it from there if you ever want to chat.
Brilliant. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in today. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Peace.
See you, Chris.